Hey everybody, Dan here. As you're probably aware, this is not a normal episode of Beer Busters. Given the recent events, we've decided one of the best ways that we can support the black community is for us to step away from the microphone and share our space with the voices of that community. With that in mind, we're featuring audio from a recent live stream by Dennis Guy. He's co-founder and CEO of First Sip Brew Box in Pittsburgh. Dennis is a black business owner and a veteran, and in this audio, he shares his thoughts on the current movement with a message of positivity and unity while recognizing the pain and injustice that's been part of our society for too long. After that, you'll hear audio from a recent episode of The Daily Sip, a video series that Dennis hosts where he had a conversation with Ralph Marion, who goes by the Beard Black Man, who is a craft beer enthusiast and blogger out of Birmingham, Alabama, and he promotes diversity and inclusivity in the beer world. We encourage you to support black business owners, content creators, and artists, and if you're able to, donate time or money to organizations that work towards equality and support communities of color.
Most of you guys know me as being the super positive, energetic, charismatic, like this just crazy guy. This topic that we're going to be talking about today, I'm still going to bring my normal positivity and everything to the table because I am an optimist. And it was just really important to us to, speak out and say something and have some type of conversation around what's facing our country and everything today. So a little bit about who I am. Dennis Guy, owner, founder, co-founder, CEO of First Sip Brew Box. We are a black-owned, military veteran-owned, and woman-owned business. So this is definitely a topic that we wanted to discuss because we know that we are in a unique position because we kind of are a little bit, face conflicted with everything that's going on from all sides. We actually have a lot of friends and, family members who are also in law enforcement, especially me having my military background. I wasn't in law enforcement. I was your typical nerd, running radio equipment and engineering type stuff. But it was important to us to really reflect and see, internally how we felt with everything going on. So this morning, my wife, Sammy, she asked me, she was like, hey, we should go live. We should do something. And my initial reaction was, I feel so passionately about this, but when you're running a business and you're with something polarizing like this, we were like, thinking to myself, and I'm sure a lot of businesses feel this way as well. If we step out and we speak our mind and we say things, obviously not everyone's going to agree with it, and that's fine. But with us being such a small business, if folks, decide that, oh, well, we don't agree with them, we're going to stop subscribing, and that really hits us financially, right? If we lose subscribers, that's less bills that are being paid. We can't, afford to pay, some of the folks out there that have supported us, our small growing team of interns that we have. We won't be able to keep them on if we lose subscribers because of this. So it was important to us to also think at the same time when my wife, asked me that we should go live, we should do something. And as all these thoughts are running through my head, it hits me. We can afford, if folks want to stop subscribing to our business, we could afford to lose subscribers. But what we can't afford to do is lose ourselves and who we are as business owners, who we are as people, our values, everything that we stand for. So we definitely thought it was important to kind of address this, everything that's going on. So with me personally, growing up, racism was for sure definitely a thing, but I never personally experienced it until I got a little bit older, 15, 16 years old. And the first thing that hit me was when it was actually a police officer in our town of New Kensington, a suburb, small town right outside of the city of Pittsburgh. And he told us, you guys need to quit running around. And we're like, what do you mean? Some of the older folks out there, before all the Facebooks and Insta Snaps and Twitters and stuff, like we went outside and we only had a couple options of what to do growing up. It was either we played kickball, football, basketball, that hide and go seek. That was pretty much it. And it was actually when we were playing a game of hide and go seek and we were stopped and told, you guys can't be running around here anymore. And we were like, it just like, we had to take a step back. We're like, what do you mean? He was like, you guys are getting too old. You can't be running around the streets anymore playing hide and go seek. So that was like one of the first things that I personally, was kind of hit with. And, folks always saying, well, Dennis, you're so well spoken. You are, you're the whitest black guy. You're you're not black, you're white. And, things, like that, where at the time we were just, okay, whatever. But looking back on it, I recently hosted the Daily Sip, one of our video series that we do, sat down with my man, Ralph, beard black man from Birmingham, Alabama. And him and I discussed the same exact thing. He ran into the same thing growing up. Oh, you're the whitest black guy. And that, as we grew and we got older, like that really, looking back on it, it really affects you. So what does that mean? Because I speak well, because I'm a nerd, because I love anime. I don't know. Like, why is there a specific stereotype of how black people should act? And there were some homes of really good friends growing up. We'd be out playing. People would go inside the house to get some lemonade, drink some water. And again, as you're younger, you don't really know how to internalize this. And they were like, hey, do you mind waiting outside? No matter, it doesn't matter. I had my little Game Boy, I had some Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Silver, Pokemon Red. So, I had things to do. I would go across the street, sit under the tree, play some Pokemon, my Game Boy. And then as I got older, like looking back on that, I was like, wow, they only wanted me to wait outside. I wasn't allowed in their house. And it wasn't, the people I was associating with, it was their parents, right? So a couple of things I wanted to hit on. There's some things that we know. Racism is a real thing. It's out there. If you don't think it's out there, like, I don't know rationally how you believe that. It's been with the human race throughout history. Like, this isn't something that just popped up in the last 100 years, last 50 years, last 200 years. It's been around for a very long time. The difference is that as we grew as a society, there are now different ways of how you can still display racism without it being as blatant, as overt. And you do see that. You definitely do see that. So there's two things I know for sure. One, obviously racism is wrong. And I think this is something that everyone could agree on. No one thinks that, I don't want to say no one. There's obviously people out there that think racism is okay. But no one's going to say that it doesn't exist, right? Whether you're for it or against it, we could all agree that it does exist. It is out there. And the second thing, looking through social media, talking with folks, the last few days on current events, everything that's going on, no one, no matter what side of the conversation you're on, no one has, said that, George Floyd deserved to die, that he wasn't murdered. That seems to be something that everyone could agree on. It happened. It's a thing. We saw video. We saw photos. There's no getting around that, right? So racism is a thing, and that did happen. You can't, crawl under a rock and pretend that it didn't happen. So with that said, now we have to figure out like what's next, right? Obviously, people feel so passionately one way or another on this topic. And some people agree with some of the protesting that's going on, how it's being done, how it's not being done. That seems to be where the biggest argument is on how people are displaying their outrage over this. And I'm going to tell you straight up, like, there's so many emotions that go through people, especially people that have faced these types of issues themselves. There's times in my life where even if you think, okay, I went to college, I served in the military, I pay taxes, I created a business, you think, okay, I'm doing all these things and to be a productive member of society. But I personally still fear, we could, my wife and I, we do some traveling. We get pulled over on a back road, and I do fear if something could happen, and things that have happened to other individuals of color, if something does happen, who's going to know? They can, not saying everyone does this, they can put whatever they want out there. They control the narrative. So I do personally fear, for my safety in certain situations. I'm not the smallest guy. If anyone meets me, 6'5", 240, I'm not the smallest guy out there. So they may perceive me as a threat. That may go one way or another, right? But I do know also on the other side, with us having specific family members in law enforcement, that they are good people. So I do know on the other side of the coin, not every single one's bad. Not every single member of law enforcement is inherently evil and they wish to do harm on people of color every day that they wake up. I know that's not the case, right? And no one can say that that's everyone out there 100%. Law enforcement, they're out to get people of color every day. Does it exist? Absolutely. So now the question we all have to ask ourselves is, how do we fix that? Once when you get this so much frustration building up inside of you, you think, oh, well, you can't just do it peacefully. You want to display that. And I know there's other folks out there that are saying there's certain organizations that are really stealing away from the peacefulness of some of the protests and turning it where, more violent. And that's that, obviously I wasn't there. But it looks like that's the case. Some of that stuff's happening out there. So none of us can control that, right? We can't control other people's actions. We can't control how other people feel or what they do. But what we can control is how we react to certain situations. So I was looking over social media, some of my really, really close friends, colleagues in the beer industry out there, and they have shared some of their opinions, and then they're just being, eviscerated, just viciously attacked by people that they thought were acquaintances, that they thought were friends, over social media. They're just being attacked and, oh, well, next time you go out to protest, I hope you get hit by a car. You have no right to stand in front of my car. I'd run you over. Like that's uncalled for, right? No matter how passionately you feel about something, no one deserves to have bodily harm come to them. I mean, look what happened with George Floyd. Why would you want to perpetuate that continuous cycle? Like, could we take a second and learn from the course of human history? Like, we've done this over and over and over again. Now it pops up and maybe it's called a different name or something else happens, but this has happened time and time again. Could we change? So one of the biggest messages I wanted to get out there is empathy versus hate, right? If someone's coming at you because they do not agree with your opinion, we saw this, a prelude a little bit with politics, right? Like it's so polarizing. It split families, it split friends. And we're seeing this now with how people are reacting to different things. Everyone assumes you have to be on one side or the other, but this is much more complex than that. So if someone's saying something hateful, number one, that person really needs to ask themselves, why do I feel this way, right? Like what has happened to you in your life to where you need to tell another human, again, human, not black, not white, another human, that you wish that they got ran over by a car the next time they want to exercise their right, whether it's they're exercising in a way you agree with or not, that you wish that they were hit by a car. So that person needs to really reflect on why they're responding that way. But on the other side, when people are coming at you with that type of hate, do me a favor, don't respond hate with hate. Respond with empathy. Internalize it. Think to yourself, man, this person, like what has happened to them in their life that they are that hateful, and really feel bad for that person. because that is for you to feel that kind of hate. You do not have a life filled with rainbows and puppy dogs and, you know, and happiness and wildflowers. Like, something has dramatically happened to that person, whether it's something that they were, you know, taught from a young age to really feel that way about people of color, to where they're coming out that way. But like I said, you can't control your actions. The only thing you can control is how you react to it. So that's one of the biggest messages I wanted to put out there. And some people ask me, well, Dennis, you know, all the widespread frustration that people have, like, what do you think that's stemmed from? I mean, obviously, institutionalized racism is a thing, and people of color are just honestly tired of just being beaten. I shared with you, I wasn't allowed in some of my friends' house growing up. My grandfather, I love him to death. He has since passed. Wonderful guy, but my mother was the first one in our family to marry outside of, you know, my mother's white, to marry outside of her race. And she was, you know, kind of considered, the black sheep of the family. You know, everyone was against, no, I wouldn't say everyone, but certain people were against it. But once when, you know, my mother brought us home to my grandfather, and he instantly fell in love with us. He loved everything about us, to the point where he would leave the house, and this is all out in the country. He would leave the house and tell all of his neighbors, my grandkids are mixed, they're black. If you say anything or do anything to them, I will, you know, we're going to have some really serious problems. So I get it that, you know, that's why people of color are frustrated. We've dealt with this type of stuff our entire life, and it's finally getting to the point where it is boiling over, and it's starting to affect other people who may have been blind to this problem or chose to look the other way, because if they don't address it, it doesn't exist, you know, turning a blind eye. But a lot of the frustration, in my opinion, comes from, you know, people that are trying to fix this, trying to fix everything from the macro point of view. They're trying to fix everything themselves. But what I challenge each and every one of us to do is try to fix it on a micro level, meaning what you do in each and every single one of your daily lives. When you see something, speak out against it. Say it. This is not right. Do not, you know, treat that person this way, because as soon as you walk past that and you hear something, you see something, you are giving power to that behavior that is okay. And if you're a parent out there, I really, really hope that you see what's happening, and we have the opportunity to really help raise the next generation to where this doesn't exist anymore. We can do that. This isn't a, you know, U.S. problem. This isn't a North America problem. This is a global problem. Wherever you go, children do not inherently have this hate in their heart, this hate when they're growing up. It is from one generation handed down to the next generation. Hopefully, with how interconnected everyone is on a global scale, with social media, technology, all this is being put into your face, where you can no longer choose to say that it doesn't exist, that you don't see it. You are seeing it right now. You literally saw a man die because of whatever those folks involved felt that was right. But everyone else around watched it happen. Everyone there, unless they were over there trying to pull him off, I don't want to say they were complicit, because at a certain point, you would fear for your life if you got involved, and you would not want that to happen to you. So this is a very complex issue. Not one single person can change everything that's happening. But on a micro level, we can all do what we can to go ahead and stop this from happening. This isn't going to be fixed overnight. This is going to be a long-term thing that we all deal with, but we can choose to deal with this together. And that's basically, you know, it was very important for us as a business. I didn't see a whole lot of businesses, especially in the craft beer space, come out and want to talk about this. And that's fine. You don't have, like I said, we faced many different things where we were thinking about, is this the right move for us? Is this what we need to do? And internally, it was the right thing for us to do as people, to share how we felt, to share our opinion on what's going on, and add to that positivity of what can we do to fix this. Some people may not feel that this is the right medium to come out in video, because this goes out on the internet. It's in perpetuity. Things can be taken out of context. I totally understand that. They may feel it's not the right thing for them to do for their business. And I'm with you. But do something. Whether it's what's going on Instagram, everyone sharing, the blacked out screen. Like, that was a powerful statement in and of itself. Scrolling through my feed today, you're typically so inundated with advertisements, but all you saw was just, a solidarity message of all the black screens out there, people changing their profile pictures. I mean, so that's definitely, the first step. But the second step is, don't forget about this. Don't let 3 weeks go by, 3 weeks, a month go by, and let this be the cool thing that you did. Truly believe this, and truly, hopefully, giving you a look into some of the stuff that I personally have had to deal with. There were times where I was on my way into work, and young, white kids drove up. I actually never told this to my wife, who's sitting right next to me. They drove up, I was in my suit. I was a branch manager for a bank at the time. They drove up in a vehicle right next to me, started making monkey sounds and throwing banana peels at my car. So, like, this isn't a one-time thing. This isn't, something that just one person is facing. For a whole group of people to feel this way, and you, as each of us being human, you should feel empathy that things like this are going on, and do what you can in your daily lives to help stop this from happening. Check it out. Welcome back, guys, to another edition of the Daily Sip. Super pumped today. We have my main man that I met at Fresh Fest, and we've seen each other a few times throughout social media, coming in from Birmingham, Alabama, my boy Ralph. He has so many aliases, but I'm not going to steal his thunder. I want you guys to hear all the great stuff that he has to talk about. But like always, Ralph, start off by telling the people what's up.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to do this exactly the same way I do in all my videos. What's going on? It's your boy Ralph, a.k.a. Ralphie Brewski, a.k.a. Ralphie 6, a.k.a. Ralphie 4-pack, when I'm a little bit slimmer, a.k.a. the Beer General, a.k.a. Alabama favorite craft beer drinker, the Beer Black Man.
Damn. What an entrance, man. You need to, now I saw a little motivation from one of your recent TikToks when you were doing the Rock impersonation.
I think these people want to party with The Rock.
And it just doesn't matter what type of match it is. It could be The Rock and Triple H in a no DQ match. It could be The Rock and DX in a handicap match. It could be The Rock and Stephanie in a stick 50 balloons right up your match.
The Rock wants anybody in the faction.
Right?
Oh,
and
yes.
That just reminded me with that intro, man, you should be out there emceeing for wrestling. Just coming on deck or being a wrestler.
Dude, man, see, so that's good. So that's a wonderful thing about being on TikTok. You be able to have that kind of moniker and be able to have that kind of swagger using somebody else's voice. And then once you get out into the real world, it's kind of like, you know what? I'm just going to just be me, just be kind of on the chill side and whatnot, because I can play something very, very easily.
And just keep that same energy.
Not so much.
Right. Well, like always, my man, let's start out with one of our brews. So what do you have on deck?
All right. So just to start off, going to be nice and easy. Got the muchacho from Good People Brewing Company right here in Birmingham. This one is pretty much their Mexican lager. So if you like Corona, then you like this one.
Ooh, yeah. That sounds good. I knew we were going to do this. So I'm actually starting off with a stout as well. coming in from Insurrection. Well, like always, I think I have a problem. I'm always starting out with crowlers, and I don't know if I should be doing that. It's some Insurrection Ale Works in Carnegie, Pennsylvania, and it's called Just Like Mom Used to Make It. It's a pastry stout, and it's been a second since I had like a true like pastry boy, dipping into this.
So what's the ABV on that one?
This guy is, man, I want to say 7.
Okay,
7%.
so not that bad. Not that.
At first, I thought it was 5.5, but that was like the 5.15. But it was a date that I got it on, so that's not right. Let me. I'll pull that stuff up. I'll toss the info about the brew down in the comments for you peoples. But the thing that always gets me, man, is pouring out of a crowler. It's like a challenge because they fill it up to the tippy tay, which I'm okay with that. I just always make a little mess.
Want to make sure you get what you pay for. That's the main thing about it. So,
ooh, that's good. I know I'm gonna make a mess. That's okay.
Don't worry. Later on, I got myself a stout as well. So I'll show you that one towards the end and whatnot.
Yeah. Oh man, aggressive pours only. coming out of that crowler, I was a little tough. I was about to bring it up and show you guys, but the wife like smacked my hand. She has to get her photos and all that good fun stuff. But that is, look at the mocha caramel look on that head. Like that is a beautiful brew. Absolutely beautiful.
Goodness gracious alive, my man.
On the nose, you definitely get that sweet caramelly mocha. Oh my God. That just sounds great. I wish I could just like take this and replicate like a whipped cream out of it and put it on stuff.
Ooh. That'd be fantastic. That'd be really, really fantastic on that.
Had to do a little sip of that. Well, cheers, my man. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Yeah. Dude, man, thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on there, man.
Absolutely. So, to kick it off, you told everyone all 75 of your aliases. Let them know what it means with, what you started in the craft beer industry with Beer Black Man, what you're all about, like where other places that you have experience with craft beer. We'll just kick it off. Let's hear about it.
Dude, so literally whenever I talk about craft beer, I always start off with this story because it's pretty much the way that it kind of rolls into where I'm going to where I am now. Literally the first time I ever had a taste of any kind of beer, whether it's craft or domestic, was pretty much when I was about roughly 5 or 6, and it was by accident.
Damn.
So
my man started young.
Dude, let's just say this. I'm surprised I'm in craft beer after that experience because I was with my great-grandfather, and he had his can of Budweiser. Me being a kid, I thought it was a can of Coca-Cola. So
I can see that. I mean, Bud Red,
Yeah. So I literally took the tiniest of swigs of it, and as soon as I did, I spit that out. It was horrible. I did not like it.
Yep.
And I was just like, okay. And in the back of my mind, I was like, I'm never having a beer ever again. Fast forward to when I was in college. I know, right? So it's like once I was in college, I was going to a local place called J. Clyde. It's no longer around anymore, but it was like literally the place to go for craft beer. It's literally the place that I kind of started, and I had the Good People Brown Ale, and after that point, I had that, was sold ever since. So that's literally how I got into craft beer, and then I just kind of just started learning more and more about different beers, different styles, what I like in particular, and then everybody always saw when I posted something on my personal Instagram, it was like, hey, should I try this beer? Should I try this beer? And I would always be like, hey, this is something that you should try out. This is something that you shouldn't try out. Or tell me what you think about this beer that you're trying out. All of this kind of stuff. And the scene here in Birmingham kept on getting bigger and bigger. So by that point, I was like going to all the breweries and all this kind of stuff. I was just like, okay, cool. I'm going to these breweries. But how often do I get to see people that look like me?
Right.
And whatnot.
I know that feeling.
So after I did that, I was kind of like, I wonder how many people are feeling the exact same way. and hence how Beer Black Man started.
Dude, so it sounds like it was created
it's
out of necessity. You know, it just kind of, you gave birth to it. So what year was that you started Beard Black Man?
Oh, that was back in 2017. So I started that in funny thing about it, I started that literally on Martin Luther King's actual birthday.
Oh,
on
what?
2017.
You can't even make this up.
I really didn't even think about it. I didn't think about it until the year, like my 1 year anniversary when I was starting to celebrate. I was like, holy hell, this was something I wasn't even planning out. It just, I made the account, I made everything else happen. I was like, cool. And then the year later, I was like, oh crap, this is literally on his birthday. And I was like, it was meant to happen. All this was meant to happen.
And it's crazy. Like, so you bring that up, people of color and craft beer, it's I don't want to say a super niche group because there's a lot more out there than what people think. But as far as influencers go and, people putting themselves out there, sharing their journey, their story, there's not a whole lot of us out there. And once when I started seeing stuff from you guys, I was like, oh yeah, like there's more and more people. Then, we met Daddy Porter, then, Fresh Fest like really kicked off, and it was just crazy, like walking through the crowd, and then I see you, I'm like, Beer Black Man, and then you were like, yo, what's up, man? It was just, a phenomenal thing. At first, like I was walking by, I told my wife, I was like, hey, I think that's Beer Black Man. She's like, well, you better say something. And the only thing I knew to do was just yell in the middle of the crowd. You turned around, and it's such a heartwarming experience when people come together, under one mission and, that type of stuff, which is what Fresh Fest represents, which is what we all try to do together in the industry. I think that's just how I feel.
And that's the amazing thing about Fresh Fest, just because that's literally the first beer festival I've been outside of Alabama. And just be able to have that kind of experience, that like literally it was one of those experiences that was very emotional. Right. Just because you don't get to see those kind of things happen. You don't see a whole bunch of people that look like us, so many different people of color.
That had to have been the first time for all of us. That had to have been the first time for all of us to see that.
Yeah. And just like literally, there were so many moments where I did not know what to say, or just getting tears in my eyes, just because something like that is once in a lifetime for a lot of folks. And right. I don't care if I never get to go to another experience or go to another Fresh Fest. That Fresh Fest was so much what I needed to be able to just say like, okay, I know that there's people that are out there that look like me that are enjoying this kind of stuff. Not only enjoying it, but that are actually making it and being kick ass about it. And
right.
That was the amazing thing about it. So just trying all the brews and all those kind of things, but then also just being able to enjoy the culture while doing all that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I can never be more happier to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It was amazing. And it wasn't, what I liked about it, there wasn't, a clear divide between people of color and everyone else in craft beer. It was everyone coming together and celebrating diversity in beer and the need for it. There wasn't that segmentation of races. It kind of pulled everyone together, and everyone was there. It was the most people of color I've ever seen at a beer fest, right? But also right. At the same time, there was still a lot of other people there as well, and we enjoyed it together. But man, did we get it in. There was so much. I normally, consume a healthy dose of beer, but that was off the charts. And before I realized it, 12 hours in, I was like, man, why are my legs shaking? My wife was like, oh no, you've been going hard for 12 hours. I was like, oh man, I'm about to Stevie Wonder this. We need to get out of here.
Well, see, that's the funny thing about it. So, like, the whole experience, like, I was probably more drunk just off the experience than off of any of the beers that I ever had, because it was just like so much that I was just trying to take in that sometimes you just like, you forget to breathe sometimes just because you're kind of just in awe about all of it. And it was just so awesome. It was so good.
It was, man. Especially folks like us who are considered influencers in the space, you know, like every 2 minutes someone ran into us that they're either a subscriber, current subscriber, past subscriber, thinking about subscribing, or they just follow us on social media. And that was a very humbling experience because, you know, we do as much as we can. We put out, 300 pieces of content every 30 days on 7 different platforms, but hell, we hope people are looking at it. We don't know, but that kind of, really show that there are, whether or not you think so or not, people are out there listening to whatever message you have when you create a platform like that.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing, because just like you were saying, like just having so many people like, hey, you're the Beer Black Man, you're the Beer Black Man. I'm like, yeah, that's me. And for me, I'm very much a shy person. I'm very much an introvert. But
no one would know that. No one would know
exactly. And that's the thing about it. So just kind of one of those things where I would just never really be able just to understand like so many people knew me, even though I see the numbers on my Instagram and all those kind of things. It's just kind of like, okay, cool. They follow me, but then when they actually say like, I see what you're doing and I, pay attention, I'm just kind of like, oh my God, that's literally just like was mind opening and just mind blowing and all this kind of stuff. And like you said, it's very humbling. It just like literally, I'm just kind of like, I'm just doing something that I love to do, and that's all I can do and whatnot.
Dude, that's success right there. That is success. That is happiness. I think if more people started realizing the measure of success is happiness, not the amount of money that you make, everyone would be in a much better place. Besides thinking, oh, I need to start a business. Well, why do I need to start a business? Oh, because I have to make $1 million. It's like, where did you pull that number from? You can easily make $50,000 a year and be the happiest person on earth versus someone who makes $10 million a year, but they go home and they're depressed every day. They're not happy. Their marriage is falling apart. You know what I mean? Like, so I think just a little bit of a mindset shift there.
Yeah.
But the next thing I definitely wanted to talk about a little bit. So I know you talked about your starting craft beer. Now you're also slinging some brews at a establishment now, right?
Yeah. So pretty much here in Birmingham, I work at a place called Hop City Craft Beer and Wine. And what that is it's pretty much a retail store, and we sell all different kinds of craft beer, all different kinds of really great wines and whatnot. But our main focus is mostly pretty much on the beer, hence the name Hop City.
Right.
And our store has been around the Birmingham location has been around for it'll be 8 years in September.
Oh, wow.
And literally it's a lot of people when they come in, they literally say like, it's almost feel like a toy store, or it feels like it's Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, just because we got so many different beers and so many different kinds of stuff. Like it's shelves upon shelves upon shelves, and we got 66 beers on drafts. It's just a lot of different stuff that a lot of people don't get to see those kind of things and whatnot.
Damn, that sounds awesome. Now, I'm trying to remember, was that your first like commercial entry in the craft beer, or were you somewhere else before that?
So pretty much my first place of work where I got introduced to craft beer was a restaurant here in Birmingham called John City Diner. And pretty much all the drafts that they had on were craft beer. And then if they did have anything that was domestic, it would be kind of like, cans or bottles or whatever. Right. So anything that was on draft, it was craft. And that's kind of like what got my attention into craft beer as well. We did beer dinners as well over there. And those were always kind of cool to be able to do and serve those. And then after I left from there, I went to a place called J. Clyde, where I talked about earlier. And that's pretty much where I kind of started really getting myself into craft beer. And that's where I really just kind of learning more about the stuff. We had literal cask ales on there and whatnot at any given time.
Cask ales.
And there were so many different ones. And so we did a whole bunch of different stuff, and I got more and more into it. Then worked at a brewery called Red Hills that's no longer around anymore, unfortunately. But then that's when I got into Hop City and just been rocking and rolling ever since and whatnot. And it's been like literally the craft beer scene here in Birmingham has been freaking awesome. Just because like it's such a baby compared to a lot of places like, you know, LA or like I'm just blanking, like, you know, like
Denver,
Austin, all these,
New England area.
Yeah, all those kind of places. And all these different kinds of places that are just big on the craft beer. But then we've only been doing this for like about 11 years. And it'll actually be 12 years in July, where like the first brewery here in town, Good People, that I'm drinking, starting a brewery.
Representing.
And just all those kind of things. Yeah, so it just like literally just all those kind of things are just coming about, and it's just freaking awesome to be able to see these kind of things happen in our little city. That's, you know, that it's just awesome. And a lot of people from outside of the city, outside of the state, are getting to know what we're doing here. And I'm always telling people it's always going to be changing. And I'm happy to always talk about Birmingham, and I'm always happy to talk about what we're doing here in the craft beer scene. It's amazing. It really is.
And I could tell, man, I can hear the passion, you know. Of course, that's your hometown, born and raised, but just hearing the passion behind it, not just for where you live, but for the scene there. And I think this is a perfect segue. So what do you, with Birmingham, Alabama, in craft beer, what do you think you guys are like known for? If you know, the wife and I came down, what type of style should we try? Where should we go? That kind of stuff.
So pretty much like literally, if we're talking more in just a craft beer scene, like there's like each brewery within the city has its own particular style.
Oh, wow.
Everybody has their own particular feel and just kind of different things. You got people like Good People that are pretty much kind of like they pretty much started it all, and they're the ones that everybody knows about just because they were pretty much the first craft brewery here.
They're the OGs.
Yeah, they're their OGs and whatnot. They kind of really started everything. So when they see those, you know, anything that they put out, it's always like, okay, they know they're going to be putting out really good stuff. But then you got people like Trim Tab that are pretty much the eccentric child of the city and whatnot, and will be doing all the crazy, you know, off the wall kind of stuff. That's, you know, they'll be doing all these different cocktail sours or all these different pastry styles or all these hazy IPAs and just all these different kind of stuff. It's all those kind of stuff. And then you got Cahaba, and they're like really the people that do like the really solid to the style beers and whatnot. They don't try to go, they do go outside of their style a little bit, but if you want like a really solid, the way that it's supposed to be kind of beer, Cahaba is that kind of place. So there's like so many different places. And even outside the breweries, all the restaurants are getting into it. All the bars are getting into it. You see a lot of people that's just doing all these different kinds of things with craft beer. And even though that a lot of people are saying that, you know, craft beer is starting to take a dive a little bit, we're still just trying to push it on up as much as we can possible. Even if it's just like an inch, we're still trying to do what we can to make things fun and exciting around here. And it's just, again, always awesome just to see the new stuff that's coming about and people just still being excited just to drink craft beer here. Even if it's, you know, maybe not so much a trend and whatnot to some people, but it's just a lot of people really make this a part of their lives and whatnot. And a lot of people meet their best friends around here. A lot of people meet their, you know, significant others around here because of craft beer and whatnot.
Right.
So it really is a part of life here in the city. And it's pretty much what has helped make the city and whatnot. It literally has.
Wow. And I definitely see some parallels with the beer scene here in Pittsburgh, where a lot of the breweries, they've revitalized small parts of the city, because without them, I mean, there really wasn't any jobs being created in that part of the city. There was no reason for people that lived in other, towns around Pittsburgh to even go to that small town. For example, like Millvale with Grist House and Strange Roots, like there was absolutely zero reason for me to ever go to Millvale. Those breweries popped up, started pulling in tons of people coming in, spending money in that community. I'm sure you seen things like that, like parts of Birmingham kind of being raised up around the breweries.
Yeah, and the funny thing about, like, when you mentioned about that, when I went to Fresh Fest, I realized how much Birmingham and Pittsburgh have a lot in common. Like, just the way that the city is built, like how y'all has y'all stuff and then we have our stuff. I almost see like Birmingham being like a smaller Pittsburgh. I think we were at one time called like the Steel City and whatnot. So like literally, I think there was at one point we were literally, I think that was probably because of y'all. It's kind of like we were like the mini Steel City and whatnot.
That's kind of cool.
So we got a place here. Yeah, we got a place here in the city called Sloss Furnace that's no longer in service, but it's pretty much a national historic site that a lot of people go to and just check out. And so getting off of that a little bit, but yeah, like there's a lot of places. Avondale is one of those places. Avondale Brewing Company started their places in Avondale, and Avondale, the actual community, was one of those places where a lot of people went to, but it's either kind of like you pass through it or nobody ever heard about it. Once the actual brewery came about and actually made their name into it, it became the place to go. It like literally it changed within years, and now it's literally everybody wants to be able to go to Avondale. Everybody wants to live in Avondale, and that's literally what made it happen. Now there's a lot of stuff that goes on with it that we'll talk about at another later date and time and whatnot.
Right.
But it's kind of like one of those things where it really has helped in building the city. Like I said before, that's craft beer kind of helped bring in different people and make things happen. So
right. It's more than beer.
Right. And just like literally it's more than beer. It's literally, making things happen to where it can just make things better for the city and in a whole and whatnot.
Right.
And just all those kind of things. It makes it awesome. It makes it really, really awesome around here.
Oh, now I definitely want to go. So if I was to grab some food, like, what are you guys known for? What should I be eating down there?
Anything and everything that you want to get your hands on.
Man, that's what I was afraid of.
Like literally, that's the thing about like Birmingham. We are one of those places where you can get like really good, high-end, high-class, like really well-made food that is a part of Jake Beard or restaurants. But then you can get to some of these places that are kind of like hole in the walls.
Yep, and those are where I want to go.
And those are going to be the places you get like just. It's going to be so freaking awesome to where it's going to be like your mom makes. And so there's so many different places that I really don't have an actual place to like, you got to go here. You got to go here. Go everywhere. And there's so many different styles from Southern food to Italian to Chinese to Japanese. There's a couple of ramen places around here. There's,
I love ramen.
Like just so many different places, and it's freaking awesome. So like literally, I always tell people, when you come here, the next time you come back here, no matter if it's like 6 months later, this place is going to be changing because Birmingham has really been growing within the last 10, 12 years. And it's only going to get better around here. Like we are pretty much like that little secret that everybody has heard about, but nobody has really paid attention to. And now everybody's starting to slowly see what's going on around here.
You know what? That makes sense. Like everyone knows Birmingham, Alabama. Everyone. You might not be able to find it on a map, depending upon, if you're good at geography, which my wife just looked at me. I'm terrible with geography. I'm sure I can find Birmingham, Alabama, hopefully. But maybe not a lot of people have actually been there to experience it. Like food-wise, I want to go somewhere where you walk in, it doesn't look the greatest. The food's served in like styrofoam clamshells. You just pay, 10, 15 bucks and you just get 3 pounds of food. Like that's what I want to see. And that's what I want to do.
There are plenty of places that are like that around here to where you can be able to do those kind of things. And it makes it so awesome. So great. It's funny because a lot of people, I don't know how many people that are listening or watching this know, think about it. Like, I'm considered an essential place here in 2020. 100 years ago, Prohibition happened.
Right.
That's literally complete night and day.
That is true. Like, never even thought about it like that. Now we can't. A global pandemic, you cannot shut down places, libations, and alcohol. Whereas 100 years ago, you had to go in someone's basement just to get some.
And so that was, I literally was just like, that is as crazy as it can get. So we were just trying to figure out how we were going to do it. And then when we found out that we were going to be one of the places that was still going to be able to be open, we was like, okay, cool. How do we go from here? And a lot of the breweries, they were able to do, because of a law that was passed here in the state, they were able to do curbside. And they weren't able to do that beforehand. So literally, yeah. So it's just literally, so they were able to do that kind of stuff. And it literally saved a lot of them, just because a lot of people were going out there just because they wanted to support local. They want to be able to, support their local breweries that they love and all that kind of stuff. And a lot of breweries, they were still pushing out new stuff and whatnot. So it's just even though that you weren't able to actually go in there and enjoy it then, you were still able to go out there and support them as much as you could possible. And then you got places like not good people, but Cahaba and Ghost Train, they do distillery and whatnot. So they're sanitizers and whatnot. So it's a whole bunch of different stuff. And this city, I am so proud of how they continue just to surprise me and make me proud of them, just because they showed hey, we're here to support our people. We're here to make sure that we can do as much as we can possible. Now, I will say were a lot of people that were, that had to be furloughed and whatnot, or just, put to the side just because of everything like that. But the good thing about it is there was a digital tip bar or tip jar that was going around. And a lot of people were just going out there just hey, here's some money, and putting it out there to, their favorite bartenders and everything their favorite beer tenders. And just seeing so many people just doing those kind of things, I'm just kind of this is why I love my city. This is why, because
that's beautiful.
We are a big city here in Alabama, but we are a small city compared to all the other cities across the nation. And we're still be able to just be hey, we're going to support our people. We're going to be able to do this. And Birmingham Strong and Birmingham has been one of the things that we have always talked about. And it really, truly showed during this time, man. I'm just I cannot be more proud and more happy about this city and just everything we've been doing. And it's only making us better for later on after all of this is over.
Right. It's making you guys stronger. And, I think that's definitely one of the positives that came out of COVID. Obviously, there's so many, negative things and things that we wish we can change that happened. But one of the positives, I haven't seen this type of national, not nationalism, right? So not the closest comparison I can draw is 9/11, how everyone, the nation kind of banded together. This is similar, but on micro levels. You're not seeing as a nation, everyone so much band together, but you're seeing these small cities, states, and towns stand behind their people in their communities. So you're seeing more of a community sense of togetherness, which is, I think that part is an amazing thing. The support that you didn't think you had out there, it's really coming to light. Just here in our little townhouse complex where my wife and I live, in the office where you would go, to pay your rent, leasing, all that stuff, they obviously closed it off, if you want to communicate through email and that stuff. But in the lobby, they set up an emergency food pantry where our whole community just came together, and we've been just dropping off food, take what you need. So we would go drop stuff off and be like, oh man, where, you know, we didn't want to go out to the store just for a thing of pasta, you know, and go out there amongst, you know, everyone else. So then we would like swap food out for someone that put a thing of pasta out there. And it's just this cool thing that I've never seen before, you know, everyone coming together like that in a micro way.
Yeah. And that's something like going back to, you know, when I was working and everything like that, I was literally thinking like, okay, you know, yeah, we're going to be open and all this kind of stuff, but how busy are we going to be? How, you know, and all of this kind of stuff just feels like there's no way that a lot of people are going, you know, we might be open and whatnot, but
right.
There's no way that a lot of people will just be like, hey, you know, let me get a beer or let me do this and all this kind of stuff. I'm just like, okay, we're just going to be doing half our sales and whatnot. And again, they surprised me because people were just coming out and just getting cases of wine, cases of beers, you know, like multiple growlers and whatnot. I'm just like, how in the hell is this?
Well, you got to think, man, people are home more. And what are you going to do when you're in the house bored? You know, like
that's true. Like literally, I was just like, my mindset just kind of like, okay, you know, everybody's going to go for the true essentials, you know, like food or toiletries and all this kind of stuff. Just, you know, get those kind of things and whatnot. I was like, yeah, you know, it'll be nice to be able to have a beer or, you know, a glass of wine or some liquor here and there. But like, how that's going to happen? And then lo and behold, they showed me. I was like, okay, then y'all know what y'all doing.
You know, good, bad, or indifferent, you know, craft beer for some people is kind of a coping mechanism. It's what they do after they feel like they've put in a hard day's work and they've really earned it, you know. So that's what I love about the craft beer industry. So thank you, craft beer, for making my problem a hobby. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Cheers on that, my friend.
Yeah, yes, sir. So with that said, you know, are you already on your second beer? I didn't know if you were on beer number 2.
On my second beer.
Ooh,
yeah,
well,
I'm on beer number 2 right now.
Yeah, talk about it. What do you have coming up next?
Okay, so this one right here is Gorilla Knot. This one is from Straight to L Brewing out of Huntsville, Alabama. So northern Alabama and whatnot. And this one is their double IPA. So the story about this one is they had this about, the last time that this was out was about 6 years ago. They just brought this back out last year. And the whole story with Gorilla Knot was, it was like a real harsh, aggressive, like very, very hoppy double IPA.
It was in your face.
like extremely in your face. Like it was like a lot of people did not like it because it was that extreme on the hops. So they brought it
like
back
West
last
Coast,
year.
like severe, like West Coast bitterness.
Yeah, in a sense, and like it's like on that same kind of level and whatnot. But then they brought it back last year, and it still has like that hoppiness to it, but it still has a little bit more of that kind of floral kind of flavor to it. And it's literally one of my favorite double IPAs. And I always, whenever it comes around, I gotta make sure I get it and whatnot. And
damn. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous right now. That is looking beautiful. Look at that color.
Like, just look at it. And there's been plenty of times where it could be even darker than this, but this one just, it's just like so. Like it's one of those where I just, every time I sip it and just take, I just like, that's exactly what I need.
Right.
It's just good.
So for all the people out there that do not have like the beard or the mustache is going on, when you give that good smell, that good aroma, like my man Ralph just did, you may get a little of that foam in the mustache.
just a smidge, just a smidge.
That's how you know you're doing it right. Only one way to do it. Man, that beer sounds great. So I'm technically on my second beer because there's nothing left in the crowler. So that's technically 2 beers in.
Right.
Once I finish this bad boy, I'll be pulling out a good trusty local brew. But the next thing, so
nice.
if you could tell the people a little bit about your adventures on TikTok and what you're doing on there. And because honestly, that's what hit me to do this interview. since we're bored in the house and the house bored, I was on TikTok going through it. I was like, yo, that looks like Beard Black Man. I was like, oh shit, it is. and I saw that. I was like, all right, cool. We definitely got to set up a daily sip. But tell the folks like your adventures on TikTok and what you're doing on there.
So the whole thing about with TikTok is kind of one of those, I never really thought I would be on there. Because I would always see, like the advertisement on YouTube and people talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just kind of like, that just doesn't seem like my kind of thing. It's not really for me. And I think it was late November of last year. And then somebody was like, just get on it. Just at least see how it is. I'm like, fine, let's see what happens. So I got on there and I literally did not do anything. I was just I might just literally would just look on there from time to time, just see what happens. And all
right. You were like a lurker. You were just scrolling through.
Exactly. And it's just like, there's really nothing for me. So I was like, okay, I'll just go through and just look and whatnot. I would put like a TikTok here and there, maybe like if I felt like it, but it was literally just be like one thing. I was like, okay, I done my stuff and be done with it.
Right.
And pretty much like right around February, just when all this kind of stuff was being talked about with COVID-19 and whatnot, I was just getting myself a little bit more into it. And if anybody doesn't know me for real, I'm a huge wrestling fan and I'm big on that kind of stuff. So I was raised on that from my great-grandfather, rest in peace. He brought me into it and watched the old school WWF at that point in time, and the old school WCW, like with Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes and, Arn Anderson and all those kinds of Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, all those kind of people. That's how I was raised onto it, and watching, Saturday Night Wrestling on WCW on TBS and whatnot, and all those kind of things. So that's how I was raised into it. So I started learning that there was an actual wrestling community on TikTok. And I was like, okay, let me just get into it and see about it. And there were so many people that were just cutting promos or just doing past promos and all those kind of things. And I was just like, okay, cool. Let me get myself into it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I started to get myself into doing the People's Champion, The Rock, and whatnot. And I started doing all different kinds of stuff. And I posted one time on I think it's either Instagram or Facebook, on my personal Instagram, on Bear Black Man, and on my personal Facebook. And then so many people were just like, dude, that's freaking awesome and whatnot. So I was like, okay, let's see how it goes. And I've been doing so many different like rock impersonations that a lot of
I've seen them.
One person yeah, see. There's like literally one person let me a comment like, you're the CEO of The Rock Lip Sync. And I was just like, I'll take that.
Dude, I'm not even gonna lie. Before this interview, I was watching some of them. I called my wife over. I was like, you need to see this. Will you look at this? Just look at it. And it was so that's like real life. You're definitely on point with that for sure.
Yeah, so that's it. So like literally when you wearing these glasses, and then like literally just kind of like you just kind of get into it. And then I got this microphone like that one of my friends got me for Christmas one year. And literally I've always been one of those people that just learned how The Rock moved and just act and everything. And it just became just natural for me after a while. And when I put it in TikTok, I was like, this is perfect timing and whatnot. So, and I'm just having fun with it. It's just awesome. That's the main thing about it. Just having fun and just enjoying what I'm doing. And, will I be TikTok famous? Probably not. Nowhere near close.
But you have the best shot on TikTok over any other platform right now.
Oh yeah. And especially right now with everything going on, I'm like, hey, we'll see how far it goes, and I'll ride it until the wheels fall off.
Right. And it's not like you're doing it with that thought process of, oh, I want to be TikTok famous. You're doing it because it actually makes you happy. I think people like you are the ones that should and will become TikTok famous because you're literally doing it for you. So you don't care, what someone's opinion is on what you're doing, because you're doing it for you. That's the only opinion that matters, with that, that piece of content.
Exactly. That's the main thing about it. Like, there's plenty of times where I'll do something like, I'm like, oh, I want to do this, and just I like the lip sync or the sound or the audio, whatever, and it won't get anything. I was like, well, that was just still fun just to be able to do, just because I want to be able to do that and whatnot.
Right.
So, like you just said, it might not get a lot of people watching. It might not get a lot of people just to follow me and whatnot. But it's like, at the end of the day, I put stuff out that I like, and that's how I've always been. That's how I always will be. And if I get a lot of followers because of that, cool. If I don't, cool. I put out something that I want to be able to do.
Right. And I think, honestly, it should end up because TikTok, like Facebook, like Instagram, always ages up. Facebook started off as college students. Now you probably won't find a college student on there. It's everyone's grandma and, parents and older folks on there. And like how Instagram started off for photographers, now it's for anyone that has a camera. TikTok's going to age up, and with the type of content that you're putting out there, as it ages up, people are going to find out more and more about what you're doing, and it's going to blow up. It's going to blow up without a doubt.
Oh yeah. So, like I said, it's like, for me, I am very humble, and I am very gracious to know that people like what I put out there. And, to anybody that ever watch any of my stuff, anybody that ever, see any of my stuff on Instagram, no matter what I do, appreciate you 100%. Yeah. Like y'all are the people that makes who I am and makes me do what I want to be able to do. But at the end of the day, I'm just kind of like, if nobody were to watch, I probably would still be doing this just because it's fun as hell and whatnot. So, So how many how often do you really get to say, like, I get to act like The Rock and actually have that feeling, like, just seeing your TikTok back and just like, I see myself being The Rock for that little point in time and whatnot.
Right. Absolutely. Like, when I saw it, I was like, lip sync was on point. Without a doubt. But I always like to start wrapping up with something a little lighter, a little more fun. I know we had mentioned it in a little bit of our pre-recording, is you have like some legit cellar life going on right now. So your fridge always has like some brews in it. You're always having tons of brews in your cellar, aging them, trying them out, all kinds of stuff. So talk a little bit about that, some of your favorite styles out there, that good fun stuff.
Yeah, like, so I always tell people, and, with me being black, I always like to, talk about it. But then also, if I know like a lot of people are a part of, Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars. I'm just like, I always live life on the dark side and whatnot. Yeah. So that's pretty much. So it's pretty much like stouts, porters. That's pretty much my go-to. Anything malty. That's pretty much, like, literally, I'm all, like I said, drinking the Good People Brown Ale. That's what got me into craft beer. And literally after that point, that's how I found, like, a lot of people go into the hops. I was into the malts and whatnot. So that's pretty much how I've always been. And I've loved that ever since. So I got like a few different, I got a couple of crawlers of, not unobtainium, Illudium from Straight to Ale Brewing Company. Like I said, out of Huntsville, up north, Alabama. And that is their old ale that is aged in cognac barrels. And that one is one of my favorites. Yeah, boy. And they haven't brought that out in a long time. The main reason they haven't brought that out in a long time because they didn't have any cognac barrels. So they just brought it back out this year. So I was like, cool, give me a couple of crawlers. I got a couple of stuff of different stouts from Monday Night, from Moody Tongue out of Chicago. I still got one bottle of Bourbon County left. I forget what year it is right now, but I got one bottle of it left. But there's still like a whole bunch of different stouts that I got going on and whatnot. Maybe one day I can be able to have the couple of stouts that I've done in my cellar and whatnot, and have them in there and whatnot. So it's just a whole bunch of different stuff, and just, like now, especially more than ever with COVID going on, it's kind of like I've been going through a lot more just because I'm just like, let's just see how it is. Just to have fun.
I definitely hear that, man. I've noticed us dipping in more because traditionally we weren't big drinkers at home because we have done so many events out in breweries and beer fests that we would be wiped out by the time we got home. And since COVID hit, obviously there's no events. We're not hanging out at breweries or anything anymore. So we saw like our cellar life slowly dwindling to where, every 2-3 weeks, especially doing episodes of the Daily Sip where we're having some good brews, we had to go out and start doing some pretty big hauls, like beer hauls, and bring it back home and all that good fun stuff. So you have a lot of stuff in your cellar. Are there specific things that you get every year that you kind of maybe have a couple years worth that you want to just one day just try them all next to each other? Or
see, that's the thing about it. It's very hard to keep anything more than 6 months for me.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where I'll keep it in my cellar, but it will be, if it lasts more than a year, that's a blessing. So it's either like it's hidden very well, behind
like
something.
You forgot about it.
Right. Like literally. So most of the time I'm just holding it off just to have it, maybe at, like a later date and time. There's only been like a couple of beers I've ever had that I might say for like a particular anniversary and whatnot. I think there was one, the birthday bomb from Prairie.
Yep.
I actually had one that stayed for my birthday the next year. So I did that and whatnot. So
that's awesome.
I didn't try to, compare it between, the year, 1 year and the next year. I just did just to celebrate my birthday and whatnot. So I don't do a lot of, verticals too often. I think that the last time I did a vertical was when I'm trying to think. I think I did a couple of Bill's Black Note. I did a couple of those back to back, and that was
a good night.
I slept very easily. Let's say that.
You didn't have to. You started counting those sheep. The sheep never even showed up. It was just game over.
Shoot, the sheep was kind of like how many seconds I was going to be to stay up.
Oh man, I absolutely love it. I wanted to thank you for being on. And if you can tell the people a little bit, where can they find you? They want to follow you, hear more about the great stuff that you're doing.
So pretty much you can follow me on just about any and every social media platform that there is: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I even have a YouTube, which I really don't use, but I might try to use that again sometime. Stay tuned. But pretty much it's always Bearded Black Man, and that's spelled BEERED Black Man. Easy way I always tell people: you're getting a beer and education from a black man. And that's pretty much how I always do it. And if you want to see what I'm doing in the crazy world of TikTok, it's pretty much Raphael, not the turtle. And Raphael is spelled RAFAEL and not DA turtle and whatnot.
That's like when I first saw that, I was like, man, this is my dude.
But like literally, and I'm going to keep on saying this all the time, no matter what kind of interviews I'm doing, no matter, like, if you can hear my voice, I want you to know I appreciate y'all for following me. I appreciate y'all for just supporting me. I appreciate y'all for just thinking that I am worth just being able just to have so many people, being somebody that does not, do a lot of talking a lot and all this different kind of stuff. Having this kind of platform has been freaking awesome. Y'all make me who I am today. And I continue to say, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. This has been an amazing ride, and it's the wheels are still going. There's no sign of stopping right now. And we're just going to keep on going and just keep on having fun and just keep on trying to make, the world a better place just with craft beer and more people of just all different kinds and whatnot. So again, thank y'all so much for everything y'all do. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. And, again, so appreciative, you made time to jump on tonight to be a part of the Daily Sip. And for all you guys still out there listening, thank you too for hanging out. If you wanted to find out more about us, just do what this says. Go to firstsipbrewbox.com. I know it doesn't say the .com part, but just go to firstsipbrewbox and then add .com. And you'll find out more stuff about us. We're on 7 different platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and TikTok. I don't even know if that was 7. I said it really quickly. And for all you beer nerds out there, the hangout beer I'm going to have with my man Ralph after I turn off this camera is going to be the Northside Buzz by Allegheny City Brewing. Speaking of brown ales, Ralphie, this is okay, so the Georgetown Brown is the other one from these guys I have in the fridge, but this is a coffee IPA made all local with local roasters, all that good fun stuff. So me and my man are going to wrap after this, drinking another good brew. But for you guys that have hung out with us to this point, thank you, and we appreciate all you guys out there. Cheers.
Cheers. If you smell what the Ralph is cooking.
Oh, he did it. He did it.
The WWE has gone from the powerful Austin 316 to the dominant and iconic, can you smell what the Rock is cooking?
Check it out.